This video is on a very sensitive topic, and I want to be extra cautious when I address this. So there are many people which way of coming to the world was involving torture, and I know I do astrology, and I know I looked at many charts, and some of you might wonder, can you see it? Now, I have some things that I did see, and I'm just going to mention, and I want to be extra cautious because you may have this signification and it's not connected, okay? There are many things in astrology that could have various things, but the reason that I do that is I think some people would like to have a sort of sometimes validation, sometimes is that where you see it, and I know that people like this, it's very difficult for them to access any not based type of consultation. I don't claim to do readings because if I tried, I would also be under mind control or torture, and it would be difficult, okay, because that's a part of a cult. So I recorded this video, and not because I offer readings, but because I think that this is a way to get information out. So please, if it's not the case for you, and I mentioned something you have in your chart, please, I'm not going to say it's not relevant, but also, yes, it's not about fear-mongering, it's for a very specific type of population, some of which may listen to my videos, maybe on incognito, and for a very specific reason. Because if you have this, you may ask yourself, does it show in chart? Sometimes people have a couple of personalities or dissociation, and they want to have something that is grounded like astrology. So I'm going to talk about what I noticed. 8th house, if you have birth time. 8th house with Lilith and or Chiron may be significant. The reason is because 8th house is associated with birthing, and unfortunately they can denote of some trauma, okay? Even deeper with Chiron, there can be a sense of rejection. It may be because mother was raped, or she went through torture, which was objective to cause her to reject. It doesn't mean that it worked. And that is designed to create rejection trauma in the fetus or in the infant, so that a person is more susceptible to mind control. Very difficult topics, I know, but first of all, know that it's not because you're not deserving of love, or because for that rejection, because the way of upbringing in these cults is based on perpetuating trauma and inverting for everything. So that might be where you might see it. Another place might be 12th house, because that can denote of before birth. And again, Lilith, Chiron, in the 12th house can denote that during the womb there was something that either mother was raped or was tortured or was mind controlled from afar. I only recently learned about the way Jesuits do monarch programming, or Alice in Wonderland. And the first few splits of the personality are done in the womb. So this is something I heard of first time. And I want to put this out there as far as for astrology. Other places to look for is 4th house, because this is upbringing. So Lilith and or Chiron. And lastly, 6th house, that can be the labor itself, and to some degree 5th house. I know it's a lot. Again, if you're not a targeted audience, okay, if you're not, then please, that might mean something completely different to you, maybe also traumatic, I don't know. But if you are for this targeted audience and you know who I talk about, and you suspect you've been for this mkultra, monarch, or you're Mason, Jesuit, Mormon, okay, then you ask, how do I see that for this particular thing around the birthing? Those are the places I see. Is also I can tell when I was just beginning to channel, and I was called in to check a chart of someone, and I was shown all the details. They also, I'm not going to talk about them, but and I was like, but why is it not, why not exact ascendant or exact midheaven and IC? And the answer I received was because of the birthing. They don't want you to see the birthing. Because they wanted me to see chart, but not the birthing. And I'm not saying this person is a clone, or but perhaps called affiliated, and perhaps, I was not sure, but IC can also, if you have IC with Chiron, there can be other significations. I know that there's several points of degrees theory that talk about this. I didn't go too far into that. You might go with yourself with the astrology. But I know that there is little to no information about this. I think there's no information about this. And as a person who did charts of people that had this, then I wanted to put it out there. If this information is useful for you, perhaps it would be some sort of validation. If you ask how is it in chart, again, I stress that because of the sensitivity of situation, because if you are in this situation, you are born into cult, what they do to surround people, and because of this, I don't offer you like reading, because I suspect that they're going to try to interfere in that channeling, okay? And I don't want information to come to you to come corrupt. You've had enough, okay? You're dealing with enough in this case. But for the record, it's true that you may see, it's not, sometimes objective is really to make you question for your sanity. It's not about making you question for your sanity, it's making you more susceptible to mind control. And it can be very devastating. I know you may hear about spiritual war, is astral rape, but it might be more familiar to you than others. Or like electric shock from afar, even if it's not physical. And if this helps, I want you to know that is not only you're not alone with this, and you're not imagining, and you're not crazy. Um, there are many who deal with this, and I know they create a world for you, so to run into this information might not be even so simply accessible. And I wish to you that the information comes to you if it's helpful for you and you need it. Um, so you can begin to have access to something that is beyond what the programming is. And yes, I know people can be extremely isolated in those situations. Some of you might be also programmers. And so that might be even more challenging to access help, because you have connection and then you switch. And then of course when you switch, you do things like astral rape. That may be very challenging to create safe connection. But naturally, if a person is with this upbringing, the word safe connection sounds like something that's outerworldly. I just said intention for you, for this to be accessible to you, and for recovery to be accessible to you, so you can still enjoy doing what you love doing in life and being successful. And yes, if you ask us for what I do for astrology, if you see that, then this would be yes way to see that. And as for other ways, when you energy sensitive, I can sense sometimes a person has various energies around them, and it's a part of who you are, because you're sensitive to energy. And I know creating boundaries can be so exhausting, because it's a lot of work to create, unfortunately, on each and every individual like this, to break the boundaries and to keep the boundaries broken. And if you're a programmer, then it's stress for you to do that as well. So I put this video out there, and set intention for it to be accessible for you to recover.